Imagine a world where news traveled only as fast as a ship could sail. Weeks, sometimes months would pass before events in one continent were known on another. Empires rose and fell, markets crashed and soared, all without anyone across the ocean having the faintest idea. This was the reality for centuries. Then, a bold vision took hold. What if we could connect the continents, not by sea, but by an invisible thread beneath the waves? What if information could travel at the speed of light? Our story begins in the mid-1800s, a time of unprecedented technological ambition. The electric telegraph had already revolutionized overland communication, shrinking nations. But the vast, silent expanse of the Atlantic remained the ultimate barrier. Bridging this gap was seen by many as an impossible dream, a fantasy for the truly deluded. Yet a handful of visionaries dared to believe, none more fiercely than an American entrepreneur named Cyrus Field. Cyrus West Field was not an engineer or a scientist, but a highly successful paper merchant with a keen eye for opportunity. He was captivated by the idea of an underwater cable connecting North America and Europe. He envisioned not just a scientific curiosity, but a colossal economic engine that would bind the world's two greatest trading powers, Great Britain and the United States. His conviction would drive one of history's most audacious financial and engineering gambles. Field quickly understood the immense scale of the undertaking. This wasn't just about laying a wire, it was about securing immense capital, overcoming skeptical investors, assembling top scientific minds, and battling the raw power of the ocean itself. He formed the New York, Newfoundland, and London Electric Telegraph Company in 1854 and the Atlantic Telegraph Company in 1856. This was a venture that would demand millions, a staggering sum for the era. The initial technical challenges were staggering. The cable itself needed to be strong enough to withstand deep-sea pressures, yet flexible enough to be laid for thousands of miles. It had to be insulated to carry electrical signals across the ocean's corrosive embrace. Early prototypes were crude, often failing during testing. Scientists and engineers wrestled with core questions about conductivity, insulation materials, and the sheer logistics of manufacturing such an immense length of specialized wire.
Field's first attempt to lay the cable began in 1857. Two warships, the USS Niagara and HMS Agamemnon, were repurposed as cable-laying vessels. They started from Ireland, planning to meet in the middle of the Atlantic. But the ocean proved a formidable opponent. The cable snapped repeatedly under strain, tangled in machinery, or was simply too heavy to deploy effectively. Each failure was a financial disaster and a crushing blow to morale. Despite these setbacks, Field refused to surrender. He raised more capital, redesigned the cable to be stronger and more robust, and refined the laying techniques. The 1858 expedition was a cautious triumph. After several false starts and more broken cables, the two ships finally managed to splice the ends of the cable together in the mid-Atlantic. For a brief, glorious period, the world had instant communication across the ocean. The immediate impact was electric. Queen Victoria exchanged messages with President James Buchanan. The news of a peace treaty ending the Sepoy Mutiny in India, usually weeks old, reached Britain and America within hours, averting potentially costly military deployments. Financiers rejoiced, imagining new opportunities for rapid arbitrage. It was proof of concept, a demonstration of an entirely new age of global connectivity, and a testament to human ingenuity. But the victory was short-lived. The first transatlantic cable was plagued by technical problems. Engineers, in their haste to amplify the weak signals, applied excessive voltage, damaging the delicate insulation. Within a few weeks, the signal degraded to unintelligible static, then failed completely. The cable went silent. Hopes were dashed, investors were furious, and Field's reputation plummeted. Many declared the entire enterprise an extravagant folly, a bridge too far. For Field, these years were a crucible of financial strain and public ridicule. He had poured his fortune and his entire being into the project, only to see it collapse. Yet his belief in the transformative power of instant global communication never wavered. He spent the next 7 years tirelessly campaigning, raising funds, and convincing a skeptical public and even more skeptical investors that success was still possible, that the dream was not dead.
His persistence finally paid off. A new, more robust cable was designed, incorporating lessons learned from the previous failures. Critically, a new massive ship was commissioned for the task, the Great Eastern. This colossal iron steamship, the largest vessel afloat at the time, was uniquely capable of carrying the entire 2,500-mile length of cable in a single voyage. This was a game-changer for the engineering challenge. In 1865, Field and his team embarked on their third major attempt. The Great Eastern, laden with the new cable, began its slow, arduous journey from Ireland. This time, the cable laying went more smoothly for a significant stretch. However, when almost 3/4 of the way across, disaster struck again. The cable snapped, vanishing into the abyss. Retrieving it from over 2 miles down in the Atlantic was an unheard-of challenge. Undeterred, Field convinced his backers for yet another try. In 1866, the Great Eastern set sail once more, with a brand new cable. The engineering techniques had been refined, the ship's crew had more experience, and the determination was stronger than ever. This time, the arduous journey was completed without a major incident. On July 27, 1866, the cable was successfully landed in Newfoundland. Not only did the 1866 cable succeed, but the Great Eastern then returned to the site of the previous year's failure. Through an astonishing feat of engineering and perseverance, they managed to grapple for and retrieve the lost 1865 cable from the ocean floor. Both ends were carefully repaired, creating not one, but 2 functional transatlantic telegraph cables. The age of instant global communication had truly begun. The economic impact was immediate and profound. For financial markets, the delay in information was a massive impediment to efficiency. Stock prices, commodity values, and currency exchange rates could differ wildly between London and New York. Speculators thrived on these differences, often moving vast sums of money based on news that was weeks old. The cable instantly erased this information asymmetry, creating a more unified global market.
Arbitrage, the practice of price differences in different markets, became a lightning-fast affair. A sudden drop in wheat prices in Chicago could be known in London minutes later, allowing traders to make instantaneous, informed decisions. This dramatically increased market efficiency, reducing volatility and making capital flows much more responsive. The world's 2 largest financial centers were now inextricably linked. Beyond finance, the cable revolutionized international trade. Orders for goods could be placed and confirmed almost instantly. Shipping schedules could be optimized in real time. Merchants could react to changing consumer demands or supply chain disruptions with unprecedented speed. This newfound efficiency stimulated global commerce, fostering greater integration between national economies and accelerating industrial development. The cable also had enormous geopolitical significance. Diplomatic messages, previously taking weeks to cross the ocean, could now be exchanged in minutes. This transformed international relations, allowing for rapid negotiations, crisis management, and military intelligence. The speed of information became a strategic asset, fundamentally altering the balance of power and the conduct of foreign policy. The speed of news transmission was equally transformative. Breaking stories from Europe or America could reach the other continent within hours, not weeks. Newspapers could provide up-to-the-minute reports on global events, fueling a more informed and often more engaged public. This created a shared global consciousness, connecting people in ways previously unimaginable, shrinking the perceived size of the world. The success of the transatlantic cable sparked a global race to lay submarine telegraph lines. Soon, networks of cables crisscrossed oceans and seas, connecting continents from Europe to India, Australia, and beyond. This era of cable empires allowed nations with extensive telegraph infrastructure to exert significant economic and political influence worldwide, solidifying their positions on the global stage.
The cost of sending messages, initially exorbitant, gradually decreased as competition and technology improved. What began as a luxury for governments and major financial institutions became increasingly accessible to a broader range of businesses. This democratization of instant communication further amplified its economic and social impact, weaving it into the fabric of daily commerce. The transatlantic cable was more than an engineering marvel. It was a foundational step in the modern information age. It laid the groundwork for future communication technologies, from radio to the internet. It taught humanity that vast distances were no longer insurmountable barriers to the flow of information, and that persistent innovation could overcome even the most formidable natural obstacles. Cyrus Field, once ridiculed, became a celebrated hero. Though he eventually lost much of his fortune through later investments, his name remains synonymous with the relentless pursuit of a vision that fundamentally reshaped our world. He saw the potential of a connected planet long before most could even conceive of it, and he refused to give up until that vision became a reality. So the next time you send an instant message across continents or check a global stock price, remember the colossal struggle, the financial gambles, and the sheer human will that went into laying that first fragile wire across the Atlantic. It wasn't just a cable, it was a revolution. It proved that in the race for economic advantage and global influence, the speed of information is everything. The transatlantic cable didn't just connect two landmasses, it connected two financial titans, transforming a fragmented world into an interconnected economic ecosystem. It reduced market friction, accelerated trade, and solidified the power of those who could leverage information fastest. It stands as a monumental testament to how a single, daring infrastructure project can not only change commerce, but truly shrink the world itself.